In the light of recent events, I found myself focusing on the Middle Eastern sources of news and media, and I found myself not actually looking at what Western media has to say about it, which was shocking to me. Um, I focused on watching Jazeera, a little bit of Al Arabiya. Basically, it's Al Jazeera, and I read like what the Middle Eastern media has to say. Basically, I didn't look at the CNN. I didn't even look at what CNN is doing, which is, can I just say something? Which is kind of uh, it, like in the light of the events where in the Iraq War and whatever, people used to watch CNN for everything, and now I'm finding that people are watching Al Jazeera for everything. So I think that's a step up where we are watching a network that is, it's an Arab network, talks to Arabs, and we are allowed to kind of voice our opinions on that domain instead of actually getting fed on TV what the Western media has to say about what's happening around my own area in the Middle East and in surrounded areas. Social media has helped people organize and gather large numbers of people to go out into the streets and demonstrate. Uh, but it didn't actually get people out there. It helped them organize the numbers. Maybe it helped them communicate faster, so it was an efficient, fast way where people have to communicate. There wasn't a need for them to gather maybe in cellars and underground like it used to be. Now, definitely sitting on a computer or a laptop and clicking yes and clicking no, clicking like and unlike and those things, it does make you feel like you are involved and you're a part of something where you don't actually have to do anything. And that is what social media is right now. It's not okay now for you not to know what's going on in the world. And it has become easier because you don't have to be that involved. You don't have to go to seminars or watch documentaries or whatever. You just can see what people are doing, and so there is that sort of detachment there. But for me, I think it's better than not knowing about it at all. At least people are trying to have an opinion about something. Things were bad, especially in Egypt, left and right, with no consideration for people and what they might think. I mean, they just didn't even register on their radar. I mean, they were just running their own thing without thinking of anybody. And I think now governments will think twice before they allow corruption and before they overlook what they're overlooking now to because yeah, people have a voice now. I mean, it's not, I'm realistic. I mean, things will not drastically change, but I mean, a little bit goes a long way. I mean, just, it's the beginning. You don't know what happens next. You don't know. And people now have to, I think after such a revolution, people are going to think differently. I think the whole culture will change. I mean, people will be more politically aware because a lot of people, these recent events happened and they had no idea what's going on in Egypt. They had no idea what's going on in Libya. They had no idea what's going on in Yemen. And now they feel like they have a responsibility as citizens to be more aware of what's going on around them, how their government is treating them. And I think people are like we as Arabs, we're raised in a culture where a lot of things are wrong. A lot of things are no, we're not allowed to say, especially voicing your opinion against the government. And I think the youth now, when they become parents, or the young parents now, will teach their children that if you stand by what you believe long enough, you will get, you can accomplish your dreams and what you want, and that they will teach them that citizens have a responsibility to set what kind of society they want to live in. I mean, my kids don't really understand what's going on. And one of my students, he said, Yeah, in Egypt, people are out in the streets because they don't want their king anymore. And you know that Egypt doesn't have a king, but that's how they see things. And as I said before, that we are a generation that is born into hopelessness. So now I hope that this is a generation that witnessed a very huge, humongous change, and there will be a generation of hope. They will be able to be more politically aware of what's going on, and they can set the tone of the country they want to live in. What's next? I think what's next is that governments will be more careful with people. Now, to avoid falling into the same pattern, I think there has to be, more than anything else, a cultural revolution. The problem is, why do we keep falling in the same pitfalls that we fall on as countries, is that people still think the same. So what's next? What's next is for Egypt and for Tunisia and all the other countries to focus on their education. People being unaware, uneducated, that's what happens. And people who in the government who were taking money from people were counting on people being unaware and being only focused on putting food on the table. That was what it is. People didn't have time for anything else. My main concern is that all of this that happened is for nothing. All of it is this silly, unbelievably silly illusion, and it is that it's the gateway for other agendas to take place. After years of being sick and tired of played with like a chess pawn, to actually believe that you've kind of emerged from that sea of unbelievable ignorance, to find yourself being a pawn again. That all along this was just silly charade. It shouldn't be an either or situation. It shouldn't be, it's either reform or loyalty. And that is our biggest problem now, is that people pledge their allegiance for symbols of countries and not the country itself. Chaos has to happen in order for something else to emerge, something better. And you have to take that chance. There are the chances that the chaos will stay, and there are the chances something worse will happen. But I think sometimes you need to take that risk. If you don't try, you're never going to know. And I think for the Arab countries now, anything is better than status quo.